It is Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John.
I'm Richard.
Welcome, everybody. Hey, if you are new here, welcome. We love having you. If you want to show us a little love, hit like. If you are new and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It really helps us out. And, you know, we haven't mentioned this in a while, Richard. Maybe leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform if you like the audio version of this thing. What do you say?
Please do. Even if you hate it, just let us know.
Hey, we got your viewer mail today. We've got a bunch to talk about. We've got some fun, underrated books of the week. Of course, always the 25-year rule with a little slice of cheesecake for you this week in the 25-year rule. And our hot book of the week. But before that, Richard, before we get to our hot book of the week, I want to remind everybody that I am going to be on my first San Diego Comic-Con panel. After going how many times, 30 plus times this thing, I'm finally sitting on a panel. I will be joining Efren from Passport Comics, Ian from Hood Rat Comics podcast, and Mickey from Swaggle House Comics for a panel called, of all things, How to Start a Comic Book YouTube Channel. Oh, boy.
Well, you know a little bit about that. It's an auspicious company you have there.
First, have a pandemic. Next.
What a horrible way to start a show.
But I definitely want to see everyone that's going to San Diego come out to this panel. It's going to happen this Thursday at Comic-Con in the Neil Morgan Auditorium at the San Diego Central Library. Yes, there's overspill from the panels that spill out into the areas around the convention center, and this is one of them. It is Thursday, 3 p.m., at the Neil Morgan Auditorium at the San Diego Central Library. We'll hope to see you there. If you see me there and you come say hi, I will give you a stick of gum.
Well, you know, what else can you ask for?
Also, a couple of people hit me up in the DMs on Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, and they said, hey, you guys haven't talked about Veve and their comic NFTs in a while. And this week, they finally announced cash out that you could pay yourself from your gems, convert them to cash, and have it deposited into your bank account. Well, we haven't talked about Veve in a while because, I don't know, we lost our taste for it, I guess is fair.
Yeah, the books that they were releasing were just, in my opinion, not noteworthy.
And you're not into Marauders number 21?
Yeah, I have no idea why anybody would. Well, if you're a fan of the book, that's great. But for the mass audience, I don't think so.
Well, cash out happened this week. They announced it for everyone. I went through the process. You upload a picture of your driver's license, some sort of proof of residence, like a utility bill or a bank statement, and then you wait, and you wait, and you wait. And mine went through. Once mine went through, I went in, added my bank account routing number, my SWIFT number for my bank for international wire transfers, and it says my cash out is processing. This happened Friday, so maybe I'll see it this week. Richard, you had a pleasant experience compared to mine.
I had a little bit. All right, so yeah, you have to do what's known as Know Your Customer, KYC.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically means identifying yourself so that the government can take money out of you for taxes. That's what it basically means.
Yeah.
So you have to take pictures of the front and back of your driver's license. You have to take a selfie that involves moving your head around, kind of like if you've ever had an iPhone. It's that whole process of identifying yourself that way. And then you have to take a picture of your proof of residency, which is, in my case, I used a bill. Well, my bill apparently didn't have an expiration date in the picture that I took.
Oh, wow.
And so they denied it. So there is no way of uploading another one. You have to open a ticket and you have to wait for them to respond to the ticket. And they finally did. And I had another bill that had the date on it. And that got through. That by then, though, Veve, the website, was having all kinds of fits because so many people were trying to cash out. So I'm still pending. At this point, they're supposed to they've disabled the ability to cash out.
Yeah, that's interesting. They disabled the ability to cash out Sunday today.
Mhm.
They say it's going to be back online tomorrow. That freaked me out. That's why I was rushing to cash out as soon as I
Same
could,
here.
because where is this money coming from?
Yeah, it's magical money. I have several $1,000s potentially to get out of this, so I am really anxious in being able to free that money up, and hopefully, frankly, put Veve behind me, because their infrastructure and their technology just does not impress me.
Let's talk about that. I'm cashing out about 2,000 gems, 2,000 bucks. I think I spent all in at $6.99 a drop, maybe $150 on this thing.
Mhm.
You're withdrawing thousands of dollars, and how much did you put in?
Okay, I put in $500 of cash money because I needed extra gems to buy a book. In just regular buys, I probably had another 100, let's say $100, and I'm going to cash out about 4,200 gems.
Okay, so where is this money coming from? Because you had, I guess it. If you think about it, somebody had to purchase our stuff on the marketplace with gems.
Right.
So they had to buy gems. So, one of one, but Apple takes 30% from the top of this. I don't know. I don't know the financials. It seems weird to me. I'm glad I cashed out the instant I got that email.
Yeah, I'm going to first thing in the morning tomorrow, which is the 18th. I'm going to attempt again to deal with their website and cash out.
All right. So there's your Veve update. You asked. There it is. Godspeed, everyone. Let's move on to our hot book of the week. Richard, what is it?
A hot book this week is a book called 8 Billion Genies. 8 Billion Genies #1. This is a cool book. I really liked it. It's what happens when the 8 billionth person is born. Apparently, we get one genie for each person on the planet, and that genie grants one wish for that person. So you got
It's kind of like the supermarket when you're the 1 millionth customer and like the confetti falls down.
yeah. But so you got 8 billion wishes that all are granted, and you can imagine the chaos. The story focuses around, though, one bartender who his wish is that no wish made outside the bar affects anyone inside it. So you've got this island of calm amongst just a craziness that goes on outside. It's a pretty cool concept. I'm really interested in seeing where they take the storyline. Apparently, so is Amazon. Amazon Studios has acquired the rights to the story, and that has spawned a huge round of speculation on this title. So books have been flying off the shelves. People have had a hard time keeping copies in stock. The A cover for #1 is going from $15 to $20. There's a B cover, which is selling for around 25 to 30. Grab a copy if you see one. I think this has a potential of being like Something is Killing the Children, another strong indie title.
Yeah, there's also a photo variant cover of #1 that is from a movie. I don't know the reference. Somebody in the chat can probably tell us what this cover reference is. Ryan, the owner of Pulp Fiction here in Long Beach, my LCS, he knew exactly what it was. I had no clue what it was. Issues 2 and 3 are out as well, completely under ordered, impossible to find here on the West Coast. If you're not on one of the major coasts, not in a major city, you might have better luck with this book, because I don't think everyone knows what's going on yet with it. But yeah, 8 Billion Genies might be worth $8 billion.
I think it's a good book to follow, just because it's a unique storyline, which is kind of hard to come by nowadays. And as John mentioned, the low print runs could mean that we have another, a book like some of James Tinian's books, something that's pretty popular, but there isn't a whole lot of inventory out there to match the popularity.
Let's talk about how good the story was. I mean, I know we're talking about the collectible aspect and the speculatory aspect of this, but it's actually really well done.
Yeah, the art I was less impressed by. It's a very interesting style, but the story was really cool. As I mentioned, you already see some of the characters that I assume are going to be a part of the storyline as a part of this bar. Um, and there's a pretty random collection of people that just happen to be in this facility. But you get the feeling that some of the characters, like this bartender, there's more to them than what you see on the surface. So I'm really interested in seeing how they develop the characters.
You don't like the kitty cat cover?
I didn't see the kitty cat cover.
Oh, you got to see the kitty cat cover. I can't believe you didn't like. Oh, yeah, the kitty cat cover is going to be your favorite.
All right, okay, I got to check that out.
Okay, it is time for everyone's favorite portion of the show, viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, you start us off, won't you please?
Yeah, my first piece is from our Bronze and Modern Gods at gmail.com email address. Send us an email if you have something you like to share with us, and we really appreciate it. So this email says, I have a collecting question for you, but I need to give you a little background first. I was watching another prominent comic content creator like yourself. Well, there's right there calling us prominent. Okay.
Your premise is flawed.
And he was talking about slabs. Then he talked about a product to protect slabs, which is a slab bag that would keep your slabs from getting scuffed and scratched. I immediately thought this was really damn ridiculous, but a thought occurred to me. Do you think that collectors would eventually not pay FMV for a slab because of Newton rings, scuffs, scratches on the slab? How about a crack on one of the corners of the slab? Would that warrant a reduction from the FMV? FMV is fair market value. The grade is on the book, not on the surrounding plastic. I personally can see collectors doing this. Yeah, there's a lot of things to unpack here. First of all, there are several companies that produce bags for slabs. They're kind of like a plastic bag that goes around the slabs, and they seal on the top, just like a comic book.
There are slab-sized mylights.
Yes, there are slab-sized mylights. There's a brand that I found, I mentioned in a previous show, that is excellent. It fits snugly on the slab. Some of these bags are loose and they've got corners that protrude, but this particular brand is a very, very tight fit. And I have taken to any comic that I have that I'm planning on selling, I will put in one of these bags. And just as you mentioned, there are different people who collect books for different reasons and have different levels of acceptance for flaws. Some people couldn't care less about a scuff on the slab, or even a small crack. They're focused on the book. But there are other people out there who are very, very particular about their books, and the slab in particular. They will, when they get the slab, they will examine it to make sure there's no flaws in it. I've had people complain about a scuff on the front of a slab. So
a lot of times we had nothing to do with it. They came from CGC with the stuff.
You can't guarantee they're going to be, perfect from CGC. Does not happen. So I put my books in these bags to protect them while I am handling them, or while they're part of my collection. And the bags themselves aren't very expensive. I think they're a good protection to offer. Me personally, a scuff is not a problem to me. Like John says, sometimes that's just the way they come from CGC or CBCS. A crack in the case, though, is a little bit more concerning. Yeah. I will say I have managed to buy books that have had cracks in the case at a discount because people are trying to sell the book. As a matter of fact, my Ultimate Fallout 4 Drawbacks variant I got for $600 as a 9.6 because there is a crack in the case. I bought the book for that price, immediately turned around and sent it back to CGC for a reslab. And $40 later, it was in a perfectly fine case. And, no harm, no foul. So I'm not personally afraid of cracks. I think cracks are an indication that the book may have had some history of trauma in its life. But as long as the book itself is fine, the crack is immaterial to me.
crack is whack. Yeah, this question came from Mark, by the way. Thank you, Mark. And you've heard my ranting about this in last week's episode, I believe, where I said, this is kind of ridiculous about people that are worried about Newton rings and scuffs. You're buying the book, not the slab. However, everyone collects differently, like you said, Richard. Some people it's just not tolerable for them. I think if you're a seller and you disclose, hey, if this has Newton rings, too bad, no refunds, then you're perfectly within your rights as a seller to say that. And it's up to the buyer to decide whether or not they want the Newton rings or not. I am with you, Mark, on some of this respects. I think a scuff or a Newton ring should not affect the price of the book at all. If you don't want it, pass on it then, please. Don't try to nickel and dime it down because it has a scuff. But a crack is a crack, especially if it's by the corner posts. That is concerning. So I'm with you. The answer to your question, do I think collectors will eventually not pay fair market value for a slab because of Newton ring scuffs or scratches? Yeah, it's happening now. I mean, especially if you're on eBay, it's the wild, wild west out there. Yikes!
It is. I'm sorry. That's when I got the UF4 for such a discount. It's because the case had a crack in it. The crack was at the top of the case where it didn't actually penetrate to where the comic was, but still there was a crack on there. And because of that crack, I got the book for hundreds of dollars less than if it hadn't been there.
That's different than a scuff where, like, the graders were stacking slabs on top of slabs and it's scuffed. I don't see getting a discount for that, but there you go. Your mileage may vary. My first piece of viewer mail comes from Edison at IO Collectibles. What is up, buddy? It comes to us from our Instagram account at Bronze and Modern Gods. Hey, John and Richard, longtime fan and viewer of the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've learned so much about comics and a lot on comic book cleaning and pressing from John's videos. Oh, well, there you go. I have two somewhat related questions. I was wondering if you guys would have any ideas on popular Marvel romance titles like Millie the Model and Teenage Romance, how popular they were by the mid-60s. Related to that, I was planning to send a Millie the Model number 44 for Roy Thomas to sign, as it was his first published Marvel work. What do you guys think of having these important creators sign their first published works? Thanks, Edison. Thank you, Edison. You are asking the right guy.
Yes, you are. This is all John.
About Millie the Model and Teenage Romance. Okay, these were books that were, in the case of Millie the Model, a book for girls primarily, that was published by Marvel since they were timely in the 40s. Millie the Model lasted from the mid-1940s all the way to 1973. Wow. Always consecutively published. It was a huge title for Marvel, along with Patsy Walker, some of their best-selling titles for a lot of the 50s and part of the 60s. Teenage Romance came a little later. That was a retitling of another romance book. But when they retitled it Teenage Romance in the early 60s, all of a sudden you guys started getting really cool Jack Kirby covers and even some Jack Kirby stories inside. Now, the fact that Teenage Romance was canceled in 1962 will probably tell you how popular it was. It wasn't. Millie held on through the 60s, early 70s. By the early 70s, it was mostly reprints at that point. And they were popular. They had their time, they had their place, but tastes change. Not only did tastes change, but you had competition from Archie. You're not going to out Archie.
Right.
And then you had just resources and time. Would you spend more time on a marginal title like Millie the Model when you can cancel it and launch 3 more superhero titles that are going to sell double the amount? You're going to put your resources where the money is. And that's what happened to Millie and all those romance titles. I also recommend Love Romances. The last year of Love Romances, again, beautiful Jack Kirby covers, drama. My Sister, My Enemy. One of my favorite covers. Now, having people sign their very first comic book work, I love it. I'm a collector. I'm a reader. That speaks to me, Edison. Why not have Roy Thomas sign Millie the Model number 44? He'll get a kick out of it, maybe. But more importantly, you'll get a kick out of it because you know the meaning of the book. You know the meaning of that SIG, and it's going to be in your collection, and you're going to love it. So go for it.
I totally agree. It's, comic book collection is a reflection of you. And if this book is important, having him sign it and being a part of your collection, I think is awesome.
Look, you're already buying Millie the Model comics. You got nothing to lose.
It's only up from here. My next piece is another email to bronzeandmodergods@gmail.com. This time it's from Michael. Hey guys, love the show. Thank you so much. Adding on the pro CGC/CCS comments from the last episode, I was contacted by CCS, which are the people who is CGC's pressing service, today about a book from a submission of 15 I sent in a year ago, sorry, to be pressed and then graded. It turns out the book was damaged during the pressing process.
Mm-hmm.
CCS emailed me to apologize and to offer me credit for the value amount I gave the book upon submission, plus the cost of pressing and grading. How generous of them. It's unfortunate that I will not be receiving the book back, but honestly, the price has dipped a bit since last year, so I'm not too broken up about it. My question is, are there any drawbacks to overvaluing your books within the max value limit when submitting them to CGC in the event they increase in value by the time you receive them back? So much. First of all, the fact that the book is out of your hands for a year really makes you have to plan ahead. And I fault this particular delay to CCS. The pressing services that CGC offers have always been overwhelmed. They just do not have enough pressers to turn these books around in a reasonable amount of time, because every book that gets pressed by CCS then has to go into the grading process, which takes its normal time. So as you have, you've had these books in there for a year, that to me is just, it's way, way too long. When I submit a book, there's tiers that you have submissions for books, and each tier has a maximum value. I will always submit the book at the maximum value for that tier. If it's a book that I am concerned about the value of it going up, I may even, let's say, an Ultimate Fallout 4. I could see taking that particular book up to the next tier up, which would be Express, and maxing out the Express tier, because a book like that, if it grades high, is going to be a quite expensive book. And you always have to take into account the possibility that the book is going to be damaged in the pressing process. There's potential the book being damaged in the slabbing process. So there's all kinds of, when the book is out of your hands is when it's at most, the risk is the highest. And so I would always try to optimize what the value I claim the book is in case something happens.
First of all, why aren't they giving you your book back?
I was wondering that too. Yeah.
Not only are you going to give me a refund and everything else, you're going to give me my book back. That's my book. You don't get to keep my book and do something with it and sell it or whatever you're going to do. Give me my book back. I don't know if we read that wrong or if Michael meant something else, but yeah, give me my book back, CBC or sorry, CCS.
Right. What if it's a personal heirloom? Your father gave you the book, and all of a sudden they decide they're going to keep it and not give you an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number two, gee, I wonder why your book got damaged during pressing, Michael. Could it be because they're overwhelmed and they have to rush this process through and they don't give a crap because they get to keep your book and give you a refund? Nah, no, ma'am. Not happening. The best solution I can give you, Michael, here is learn to press your own books. There's a great video on YouTube called Comic Book Pressing 101 that some bald guy did that's amazing. It's actually step by step. I'll link to it in like the description, in fact. But I know it's scary. I know it is a big, not really a big cost outlay at the outset. It's $250 for a nice press on Amazon or eBay. And there's a learning process. Go buy a bunch of dollar books at a show and ruin those, and you'll learn really quickly. But think about this, Michael. They ruined your book. They took a year to ruin it, and it's not coming back. You could have pressed it yourself, got it turned around and sold at the original high asking price before the value went down in a quarter of that time. Don't use CCS.
Yeah, I've never used CCS. I've only used one external presser, and wasn't necessarily happy with their result. Like John says, it's not a difficult process to press most books. It is a learning curve. There is experience necessary to do it correctly, but anybody can do it. You can find yourself a nice press.
Oh, I don't know if anybody can do it, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah, our audience can do it.
Yes. You have to be patient. I mean, that's the biggest key. I don't know what happened to your book, Michael, but I suspect it was rushed through a process and somebody folded a corner the wrong way or didn't have the stacking the right way, or they had a piece of dirt on it and it got indented into the book and there's a big divot now they can't press out. These things do happen. I mean, they happen, but I don't trust anybody with my books except for me.
Yeah. I totally agree. And you have total control. That way, if somebody screws up, it's you.
Yeah.
You won't feel so bad about yourself screwing up as opposed to paying somebody else to screw up for you.
And you knew you screw up. You screwed up right away instead of waiting for a year to find out you screwed up.
That I just don't find acceptable. I really think CCS should stop accepting news submissions until they catch up. That's the only way they're going to get out of this pickle.
They say you're a dreamer, Richard, but you're not the only one.
Yeah, turn down money? Of course not.
Dream on, buddy. My next piece of your mail is from our friend Silver Age Sage, talking about getting ready for conventions. Last week's episode where we talked about convention prep. For convention prep, I would suggest doing your research of all the creators, panels, events, and the exclusives you're interested in. Make note of when panels begin. Like, say, for example, Thursday at 3 o'clock, the How to Start a Comic Book Podcast panel, and end. And when signings begin, where and when you can start to stand in line, and when other events begin, giveaways, contests, sales, etc. I like to create a map and schedule of all the things I'd like to do and buy. This way, you know what you want to prioritize. I also recommend following your favorite creators and publishers' social media accounts, since they tend to post deals, sales, and signing schedules. Sage advice from the Silver Age Sage. I would also add to that, download the Comic-Con app. The San Diego Comic-Con app allows you to favorite panels, create a schedule, connect with other people that are at the show that have enabled the ability to do that within the app. So you know where Richard is going to be on Thursday at 3 o'clock for the comic book podcast. Oh, you're not going. Sorry.
Thanks, John.
Stick that knife in. So yeah, I download the app, but this is great advice. And one thing that I definitely encourage everybody going to San Diego to do is look for the exclusives, because this is a good way to make the hobby pay for itself and make San Diego Comic-Con pay for itself. Stand in line a little bit, get the exclusives, throw them up on eBay, pocket the money.
I told you, it was a great list of suggestions. I totally believe in a show like this, preparation makes the show. You'll enjoy it so much better if you go in knowing what you want to see, knowing when things are available, and just being prepared. So spend a few hours doing that in the comfort of your own home, and it will make the chaos that is SDCC a little less chaotic.
What's your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece is from Michael Trott. Hey, fellas.
Hello.
Great show again. Thank you. I look forward to tuning in every week. I, again, am self-admittedly relatively new, January 2022, to comic book collectings. Yes, welcome to the hobby. But I have noticed on CBCS slabs what appears to be almost a shrink wrap looking ceiling around the book, whereas I don't see something similar in my CGC slabs. And my books in a CGC slab kind of slides around inside. So you're talking about two different bags. One that seems to be
The inner well versus, yeah.
right. Not sure if this is a contributor at all. Also unsure what I'm seeing with these differences and would love some insight. By the way, best segue for the 25-year rule to date. Blah, 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 blah. 25-year rule.
Oh, wait for today's. That's nothing.
Oh boy, yeah. So there is something called an inner well in these slabs. So the outer plastic itself is the hard outer shell of the book, and it's of the slab, and it's there to protect and offer a level of protection to the whole package. Inside is something called the inner well, which is basically a plastic envelope that fits around the back, around the actual comic within that outer well, outer shell. And the two companies do different, have different styles of inner wells. The CBCS style is definitely more form fitting and it holds the comic better in place. The CGC, I think they have a more let's say standardized size for the inner wells.
Yeah.
And that tends to mean that it's looser and it doesn't hold the comic in as tightly as the CBCS ones are.
And also, I'm not quite sure what the difference is when it comes to off-gassing. And that is when a book gets older, there are gases that escape.
Yes, your book farts over time is what John is saying.
Yeah, much like me after Del Taco. These gases need a place to go, and the CGC slab in particular is designed in such a way that it does allow for some off gassing, and that's what those white pages that they put in there as well for the slabs that allows that. I gotta say I don't have enough CBCS slabs to really investigate and look and see what the difference is, but yeah, you're right, there is a difference in terms of that inner well. Okay, my last piece of viewer mail is another email that came to us, bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com. This one is from Lou. Absolutely love the content. Thank you, Lou. I know it's a tired topic, but I wanted to share that I brought comic books to CBCS at Terrificon in Connecticut last July. 22 modern books, no pressing, no signatures. At this writing, I still do not have my books back, and they are still in processing despite the fact that at the time of submission, turnaround time was 17 weeks. Why is it that we let these companies break all of the rules of professional business? Why can't they just stop taking submissions until they are caught up? Lou, they say you're a dreamer, but you're not the only one. Sorry, just so frustrated. Please keep up the great work. Thanks, Lou. Thank you, Lou. Yeah, I wanted to point this one out to say that it's not just CGC that's causing problems. CBCS has some issues, and the turnaround time is, wow, that's redonkulous.
Especially when you take books and you submit them directly. John, you've had some submissions at conventions where the turnaround times has been weeks, right?
For CGC, I will say, when I drop stuff off at a show in person, WonderCon, TorpedoCon, they get processed really quickly and come back fairly quickly as compared to when I send them off and I wait for them to open the package. I have not done CBCS, so I have to have that caveat there.
Yeah, I feel your frustration, and it's something that I feel is because these companies have a basic monopoly on the grading process. You've got CGC, you got CBCS, and then you got the also rans. Halo, PGX, etc. EGS,
ESG, or whatever it is it EGS or ESG?
Yes, EGS. So that's the problem. they just don't have enough provenance. They don't have enough gravitas to really be players in this market. So as long as we only have those two competitors, and we don't have more competition in this field, they don't feel the need to respond to market forces as rapidly as if there were 10 different companies that you could go to.
Well, I will. I don't want to defend anyone here, but I will say, having worked at a company where the external forces prevent us from doing things in a rapid manner that we would like to have happen. Well, yeah, I was gonna my defense just fell apart as I was saying it, as it was coming out of my mouth. Hire more people.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
if you can't afford the head count, stop taking submissions. If you know, obviously the revenue is coming in to the point where you're making people sit and wait a year, hire people. You got to increase that head count.
Yeah, I mean, they have no problem in coming up with new revenue streams. You know, let's charge people for new labels. Let's do 75 different signings in the course of the year. You know, they have no problem with that, but their basic service seems to be something that
Uh,
they don't want to invest in improving.
be fair. Don't tar CBCS with CGC's problems of anything.
That's true.
It's the CBCS we're talking about.
That's true. You know, these are companies, and they have to. You know, they are tasked with making a profit, especially you know, CBCS is Beckett, right? And they are tasked by their parent companies to make a profit. You know, they want a return on their investment, and they are more interested in the money than they are in providing the services to their customers. And that's an unfortunate stand that the larger company takes. Now it's up to CBCS and CGC to understand to deliver the best profits is to offer a good product. And I really think right now they are taking shortcuts to be able to increase their revenue without actually improving the product that they offer.
You should not have to wait 25 years for your books to come back. It's a 25-year rule. 25-year rule. We go back to 1997 when nostalgia hits. 25 years later, you want to buy your collection back that you had at that time when you were a kid, you were coming up in that most influential period in your life. And today, Richard, you're serving up a delicious slice of cheesecake for the 25-year rule.
This week's what our 25-year rule is Cheryl Blossom #1. This is the 1997 series. There's 3. This is the 3rd ongoing series for Cheryl. It only lasted 7 issues. Cheryl is a wealthy teenager in the Archie comics line. She was introduced back in 1982 in Betty and Veronica #320 as a 3rd love interest for Archie. Why Archie needs 3 is beyond me, and apparently other people agree because within 2 years, she was nowhere to be seen in the Archie storylines. But she did appear in the Riverdale TV series, if you're a fan of that show. This book is not really that, I shouldn't say it's not collectible. It has not been graded very often. There is, right now on GPA, there's a lonely 9.8 that sold in 2019 for $32. The census is just as sparse. There are 5 9.8s on the census, and that's it. So I can't say that there is a lot of speculation on this book, but Cherry Blossom is if you're a fan of the Archie series, she's one of the key characters that's one of the key supporting characters, let's call her, that continues throughout a variety of different storylines. And this is an interesting book to collect if you're an Archie fan.
I have a conspiracy theory about Cheryl Blossom.
Oh yeah.
I think Cheryl Blossom was created and given a book because of Cherry Poptart. Yeah. They wanted to build a case about Cherry Poptart infringing upon Archie, and by making a similarly named character that is cover featured with a logo, and they have to publish it every once in a while. They don't care if they lose a little money on it, but it builds up their case.
I tend to agree with you. Cherry Poptart, for those who don't know, is
it's great.
It's comics with an X. It's more of it's a more adult comic version of the Archie storylines, and I'm a big good girl art fan, and I'm a fan of Cherry Poptart. But I agree. If I am a holder of an intellectual property, I need to defend it. And I think this is a way of defending against Cherry Poptart and some of the other independent artists who went towards that whole Archie style of comics.
Just my conspiracy theory. No proof or anything. No, just pure 1000% speculation on my part. All right, time for our underrated books of the week. Speaking of Archie, my first underrated book of the week, my only underrated book of the week, is The Archies #4. This was a book about the band, the Archies. And this issue is an historic first meeting between the two most famous fake bands in the world, the Archies and the Monkees. Now, of course, we know the Monkees became a real band. Pinocchio became a real boy after splitting with producer Don Kirshner, asserting their rights to control what music they made and who played on it and who sang on it. Now, Mr. Kirshner, after feeling stung by the Monkees, swore it would never happen to him again, so he licensed the Archie characters to create his own band called the Archies, where he had full, complete, total control. I have a funny story. I worked with the Monkees, as you know. We did a couple of albums together. I was the executive producer along with Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne. Michael Nesmith once called me John Kirshner because he thought I was too controlling in some aspects. I took it as a total compliment. Thank you to the late great Nez. I love that guy. This was part of the Archie series in the mid 2010s, where they teamed up with a different band each issue. They teamed up with Churches. They teamed up with Blondie. They teamed up with the B-52s. They teamed up with Tegan and Sarah. But in issue #4, they teamed up with the Monkees. This issue has 4 different variant covers, including a cover by our beloved Michael Allred, and an exclusive that was limited to 1,000 copies and sold only at monkees.com. Who did that? A CGC 8.0 slab of the monkees.com exclusive sold for $80 last month. That is the single only sale for a CGC slab. It was not mine. I have not sent any in to get slabbed. Meanwhile, raws of the A cover sell for just over $5 on eBay. So if you unaware of the meeting of the Clash of the Titans, the Monkees and the Archies, Archies #4 is the book for you.
Yeah, for those who don't know, John has lived his dream in a number of ways, and he actually did it. He is actually, telling the truth about his involvement with the Monkees. So,
there's a gold record, right?
Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's like, John is multifaceted.
Sorry, it's a platinum record. All right, what is your underrated book of the week?
My underrated book this week, going back to my Legion of Superheroes roots, is Adventure Comics #350. This is the first appearance of the White Witch, who is a sister of Dream Girl and becomes a fellow Legionnaire. But more importantly, it's the first appearance of RJ Brand. Anyone who follows the Legion must wonder, how do all these teenagers afford the rings and the rocket ships and the headquarters and all that fun stuff? Well, it's the origins of the Legion came about when Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, and Lightning Lad saved RJ Brand, who is the richest man in the universe. Saved his life, saved him from some hired killers that were coming after him. At that point, RJ Brand decided, the universe needed a team of superheroes, and he wrote the check that paid for everything that happens for the Legion of Superheroes. So, to me, this is a pretty cool character, and I think he has some roots in the backgrounds of other characters. For example, he is the biological father of Chameleon Boy, who's a really important character in the Legion mythos. So this book is, in my opinion, is a perfect example of something that's underrated. There is only the highest graded book on the census is a 9.6. One sold for $456 in 2021. This is a book that came out in 1966, selling for $456 at 9.6. That is just amazing. There are only 57 on the census right now, of which there are 696s. That's the highest graded. And I think this is a book that has some historical importance for Legion in general. as the Legion becomes more and more prominent, and we're talking about having a Legion TV shows or movies. I'm not sure what the rumors is now, but it's going to have to start somewhere. And to me, having RJ Brand as the financier early on in its existence it's a potential investment that you could really turn around some money on if you invest early. So this is another book. This is a book I think that it's a good time to buy.
Why do I suspect there's a story somewhere in later years where it's revealed that RJ Brand had sinister motives or someone?
Oh, they always do that.
Yeah. Are you aware of one, or are we just making an assumption like I am?
No, I'm making an assumption. There are some storylines about the White Witch where she's evil when it actually is, and there's some things around her. RJ Brand, I'm not sure. He goes through. He's actually and he's not human, but he gets frozen in a human form, and there's all kinds of different things about him. But I don't know of any sinister storylines. If you know any sinister storylines, because this is a character that's been around since the 60s, let us know.
Did they Maxwell Lord him? I guess is what I'm getting.
Yeah, that's a good parallel.
Hey, thanks for joining us. A reminder, I am going to be at the San Diego Comic-Con panel on Thursday at the Neil Morgan Auditorium, 3:00 Thursday at the San Diego Central Library, talking about how to start a comic book YouTube channel. And follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. And we will catch you next time.
Everybody show up for the panel and make him run out of gum.
Yeah.
Everybody stay safe. Have a safe and fun SDCC.